Pro Football player Travis Kelce is pressed for time during the football season. So he does two things at once. Whether it's grilling while mowing.
Two things at once!
Or getting this season's updated COVID-19 shot at the same visit as his flu shot.
Two things at once.
You can be like Travis and ask your pharmacist about getting this season's COVID-19 shot at the same visit as your flu shot, if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in today. I have a powerhouse guest for you today. She is recognized and has capitalized on her talents no matter what the circumstances. She has taught business strategy. She is a high-performance coach and a professional keynote speaker. She has been featured in major media outlets such as TEDx, Girl Boss, Business Insider, Thrive Global, and the Mighty. But one of the things that I did notice in her bio that I really liked, that she has spent 15 years as a senior VP for her family's regional distribution business, right? So in this place of where we say that'll never work, sometimes you want to stay in a place where you're comfortable, and this young lady, she went out on her own, and within weeks she landed paying clients, had 6 months where she had over 40,000 followers on social media. And within less than a year, she became a TEDx speaker. Some of us, we would love to have that on our resume, but we thank her for coming on the show today, and we welcome her with open arms. Corrie, thank you very much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Maurice.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we're going to hop right on to it, Corrie.
Let's do it.
So in social media or graphic designers or web designers or whatever it is, right? How would you, or what would you recommend to those that are trying to break into such a crowded market? If they're looking at it as a crowded market, how do they stand out amongst everyone else?
Sure. So I think the easiest way to answer this question is to first start off with the biggest mistake I see brand new entrepreneurs making when trying to stand out. And the first mistake is they kind of go out there and they see what other people are doing in the niche that they want to break into. And then they just start copying. And this is how you don't stand out, because you're doing the same thing that everybody already sees out there.
Right.
Whereas the best approach that you could take is to be yourself. And I know that sounds really kind of cliche, but each individual has certain life experience that they bring to the table, education that might be different. For example, myself, I work in the business industry. I'm a business coach. I was an SVP for a very long time, but I have a fine arts degree. So I bring that education with me. It helps me, think creatively, think outside of the box. There's a lot of things that make me unique, in terms of what I bring to business as a result of my education, life experience, and all that. So really, to stand out, you got to speak about, what is it that you know? What is it that you're passionate about? What is it that makes you you? And how are you positioned to help people? And that's how you really stand out, because people are going to hear your message and it's going to resonate for them, because they're going to say, oh, that person's just like me. Or, oh, that, business aligns with my values, or therefore what I'm for.
Right.
And that's how ultimately you're going to build the best audience for you.
So I think in listening to you, you're talking about how people are mimicking others, right? And they're paying attention to what the trends are. And yeah, you could be popping, if you will, for right now. But what about longevity? How would you suggest someone to find their space, right, so they could be here for the next 10 to 20 years, and not just be relevant for right now?
Sure. Well, I mean, it comes with constant pivots. I guess you could say, as the market changes, as the market matures, as you mature as an entrepreneur,
Right.
you're going to learn different skills and experience over the course of you being an entrepreneur that you're going to be able to then bring to the table. And then that's going to more or less change the market that you could serve by either expanding it or narrowing it down. So you have to be willing as an entrepreneur to make changes, whether it be yourself, your offerings, what it is you're doing, or even who you're working with. You know, myself, I'm a great example of this because for the last 4 years, I've really kind of made my niche in helping brand new and aspiring entrepreneurs. You know, that's what I've specialized in. And over the last year or so, I've really kind of been thinking about, well, who is it that I feel I could have the greatest impact helping? And I've made a very kind of subtle pivot, but very drastic in a way, in that trying to get out there and speak to working moms in particular, because there's so many challenges with working moms right now in terms of having to leave their positions because of childcare costs. And there's so many things that applied to me and why I started my business,
Right.
you know, why corporate became unsustainable, that I could help other women and then they could teach their children how to do the same thing, which is very exciting to me. But that's how you kind of constantly evolve. So just because I set myself as an expert within aspiring and brand new entrepreneurs doesn't mean I can't try something different or help another part of the market, and do so by talking about all the same stuff that we just talked about very, very early on. What are you passionate about? What are you really good at? What do you know well? Because when you speak your truth and you're authentic to who you are, that's what stands out through everything online.
So in that, as I'm listening to you, you know, you're talking about people speaking their truth, right? But sometimes in their truth is a little bit of pain that people don't want to touch. So how would you, how would you ask someone to even through their pain to use that as motivation to move forward? How would you express that to someone?
Sure. And I forget exactly who quoted this or who said it, but there is no successful person on this planet that had an easy past.
Right.
And it's really the truth, because it's in the painful stuff, it's in the difficult stuff that we learn and we grow. So the people that are successful and see a certain level of success, they're willing to go over and above and do things that standard, or you could say quote unquote normal people, are not willing to do. And you don't get that way. You don't break down that fear by not having dealt with something that's more challenging or worse than whatever it is that you're doing. So a lot of times our really difficult life experiences, the personal ones, that we really don't want to touch on, number one, that's the stuff that people really resonate with, because that's what people aren't talking about. When I built my audience initially, you know, that first 6 months, and it blew up to close to 40,000 people, I had very recently suffered a suicide loss.
Really?
And was talking a lot about it. You know, and talking about, you know, managing that and exploring that and, you know, pushing through that. And it's through talking about it, even if we're not in a position that we feel that we've mastered it yet, or even that we're ready for it, that gives other people the permission to be able to do the same thing for themselves, but also positions you as a leader, and that, hey, this person's doing it, I could do it too. Even if it's not directly related to what it is that you're doing in business. Again, I was a business coach, you know, and talking about stuff like that. Initially, I kind of started off as a life coach, but what people took from that story and me sharing about it is, wow, this woman was going through, you know, all this difficult stuff. She lost her partner. She was a single mom, blah, blah, blah. She quit her job and started her own business. I could do that too. So, right. And that's how ultimately my niche of working with aspiring entrepreneurs happened, by me just literally speaking what I do.
Okay. So in that, excuse me, because of the pain and whatever that is, some people don't want to deal with that, right? They don't want to face it. And in that, there comes a sense of fear of failure, because you mentioned about fear, right? You know,
fear of failure is a big one.
You know, so when you have that fear of failure, because I know for myself, I've been doing this for 12 years now. You know, and I've come across it many a time, you know, especially when the pandemic hit. You know, you're not sure where things are going to go, what's going to happen, and whether or not my skills are transferable somewhere else. You know, do I have to now go get a 9 to 5, quote unquote, right? Or even now as AI is taking over, you know, can I even fail now? So, you know, how would you express to someone that is experiencing that's feeling that, you know, 5 years to even till today, you know, the differences that they can experience?
Sure. So fear of failure in particular, especially for somebody who's new, kind of getting into this fun game called entrepreneurship, you got to realize that entrepreneurs are quite literally professional failures.
Right.
We have gotten so good at failing, we make money from it eventually. So you have to get comfortable with that failure. And yes, it takes a lot of work, but it takes pushing that comfort zone. So that pain you're kind of talking about before, it's an unnecessary evil in breaking into the business world, unfortunately. Yeah. You have to face that fear and you have to push through it, because without it, you're not going to learn what you need to learn to ultimately be successful.
So as they're trying to deal with that, because even on some of your questions talking about this analysis paralysis piece, because sometimes you can overanalyze your pain, you can overanalyze your fear, and then you're stuck. You're still. And then even as you talked about how you're comparing yourself to someone else can also paralyze you too, right? You know, so my question to you would be, how do you get over that space of being paralyzed and not moving forward? Because sometimes that's hard too.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing to realize is if you notice those kind of behaviors in yourself, that's a form of self-sabotage, right? So especially analysis paralysis, procrastination, right? Procrastination in particular, it's perfectionism in disguise. You know what I mean? So it's you procrastinate and you put things off because you're afraid it's not going to live up to your standards, you know, or whatever other, you know, stories that you're telling yourself, when truth is done is better than perfect. So you're creating all of these stories for yourself as to why you can't get something done instead of just getting it done. And it's a form of self-sabotage. And really, self-sabotage isn't necessarily a negative thing. As humans, we're hardwired to be comfortable. Right. We're hardwired to avoid, you know, fear and to avoid, you know, conflict and stuff like that. But in order to be able to learn and grow, it's necessary. Right. So when you feel the self-sabotage pop up, the first thing that you need to understand or realize, it's more self-awareness to understand. And sometimes what I'll do with my clients is I'll recommend that they start recording, you know, these feelings, start journaling, you know, when they pop up, and then explore what they were thinking about before and after that feeling when it popped up. So a lot of times with something like analysis paralysis, it's fear that they aren't, what would you say? That they don't have enough experience.
Right. Yes.
You know, so they'll be like, oh, I need to get another certification, you know, before I start this, where really it's, no, you have everything that you need. You just need to put yourself out there and get over your fear of putting yourself out there. It has nothing to do with you not being qualified. Right. Or it might be fear that people are going to think you're a fraud. Right. Is another big one that I hear. Yeah. And that fear of being a fraud might actually be instead a self-limiting belief that you heard when you were a child, that people kept telling you, like, who do you think you are? Right. Like, what do you think you're doing? And they're thoughts that you absorb from other people growing up that are now your truth, but it's not actually the truth that everybody on the outside of you sees. So becoming aware, first and foremost, of the thoughts is the first step in being able to navigating how you push past the fear. Because once you have control of your thoughts, then the fear starts to dissipate, because then it becomes safe to participate.
Wow. So Corrie, I really like all these nuggets that you're giving, right? So one of the things that I'm hearing that people may need to invest in could be a coach to help them get through some of this. So why would you think a coach of any type, because you mentioned life coach / business coach a few moments ago. So why would it be important for someone to get a coach to help them through these processes?
Sure. I'd say anytime you are dealing with some kind of a goal that you find for whatever reason you're not hitting that goal, it could be a business goal, it could be health and wellness, it could be whatever.
Right.
It's very, very helpful to bring in some kind of a coach to deal specifically with the mindset blocks and the self-sabotage that you're doing to yourself. Because if you're following all the quote unquote steps and you're still not seeing the results, there's something that's stopping you from taking action on whatever that plan is per the way it's been proven to work for others before. So by having that coach or somebody else, it could even be a mentor, someone who's done it before, they kind of become the mirror for you to see within yourself what you can't see. Because they're just going to reflect right back to you what you're already putting out, but you're not processing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's very, very helpful.
So in that, how would someone choose the right coach? Because sometimes you can follow the fads, right? You know, but how do you choose the right coach for you? How would you know if that's the right coach for you?
Sure. There's a few different things I'd recommend. So first up is you always want to be working with coaches who have accomplished whatever it is that you're looking to do. Or have experience helping other people accomplish what it is that you're looking to do. So great example of that, you know, you have Olympic athletes. Their coaches aren't necessarily Olympic athletes themselves, so they haven't actually, you know, accomplished it themselves, but they have a track record in helping other people reach that goal. So number one, make sure it's somebody who has experience in helping people do what it is that you want to do specifically. The other thing that I think is probably even more important is finding somebody that you feel comfortable enough that you could tell them anything.
Okay.
And this is really almost kind of like when you're interviewing a therapist. It needs to be the exact same thing when you're with a coach, because you need to feel comfortable enough to share all of your truths with the coach. But on the same side, you need to be comfortable with hearing back whatever the coach is going to tell you. And if you don't feel safe with that person, that level of vulnerability isn't going to be able to be there for both sides. And the transformation that you're looking for won't happen because both sides are holding back.
Wow, that's great information right there. I hope that everyone that's looking and paying attention and listening, that you're listening to what Corrie has to say, because I think she touched on quite a few different things in that one little segment. Corrie, we thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Unfortunately, so, you know, it's our time, you know, but, you know, I always want to leave my guests wanting more, right? You know, so can you please let us know where they can find you, where they can follow up with you, anything?
Sure. You can find me at my website is www.corrielo.com. And then you can find me on every single social media platform at the same place.
Right.
Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of them. And my handle is I am Corrie Lo.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you very much. So, you know, Corrie, I just want to let you know I did sign up for your free masterclass because, you know, we're always trying to learn. So I just want everyone to know, sign up for her free masterclass, y'all. Also, so now, Corrie, before I let you go, I ask all of my guests this question. Would you choose 3 doors or a fork in the road? It's my would you rather question.
It's a good question. I'd probably rather go with the fork in the road.
Really? Interesting. And why is that?
Because any road that you take, there's going to be another fork and another fork and another fork. And I prefer to live my life in a way, I'm very, I guess you could say in a way spiritual, that I believe that the right things are put in your path at the right time when you're meant to see it.
Okay.
So I kind of always feel like whatever intuitively I feel I should be pulling down whichever side of the fork that is, that I'll be guided to the right one the next time.
Nice.
As opposed to having 3 options. That's like a little too much. I think, right? And also I'm a mom, so I'm like decision fatigue, just like cut it out. Like, right. I get asked so many questions, just give me 2 instead of 3. It's all good.
Okay, cool. Corrie, thank you very much for coming on. I just want to let you know, though, that most people did pick fork in the road, though. I've been asking this question for quite some time, so that's the majority. Everybody's picking fork. But I'm surprised. Corrie, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Marie.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much and tune in for our next episode of That Will Never Work podcast.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.